Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's me, Fiona at Drawings in a Drawer. So today we're going to be looking at my favourite hot press paper, which is Winsor and Newton hot press, 100% cotton, 300 GSM, and has the little red mark on the cover to make it easily distinguishable from the cold press, which I believe has a blue mark. But why not look at some paints too? I bought this cute mini set of QOR paints, which I had never tried. It contains 12 colours and comes with one of the handiest, cutest palettes I've come across. I also bought a tube of olive green, which isn't in the palette, because I just love to use this colour in skin. I never would have thought that green could be a favourite colour of mine, but when it comes to painting, it is. So right off the bat, let me tell you the best thing about this palette, about the box. Inside the lid, there are 9 mixing wells of different sizes. So how cool is that? This was designed so well, it was conceived so well. You really don't need a mixing tray if you have this set, because there are also 3 square silicone non-staining mixing wells between the 2 rows of paints. So that makes a total of 12 mixing wells in one small palette. That is genius if you ask me. I did end up using my porcelain mixing tray when I did the painting that's coming up soon, but quite honestly, it wasn't really necessary. I think it was more a matter of habit for me. Of course, there's a swatch card, as you can see, and I am not going to bore you with endless minutes and minutes of swatching. And I also ended up using proper 100% watercolour paper to redo the swatching, because I think the colours just look different on cellulose paper, and I like to have that reference when I'm painting to know exactly what the paint is going to look like on the paper. So now, before I go on talking about these QOR paints, I will talk a little bit about this Winsor and Newton hot press paper and why I love it and what's special, in my opinion, about this particular hot pressed paper. I started painting with watercolour about a year and a half ago. I think I started using only watercolour without the added aid and control of coloured pencils in late summer 2019. And of course I soon realised the importance of paper when I bought a pad of Arches cold pressed, which to this day is my go-to cold pressed paper. The paint just acts like music on paper like that. But I was always drawn to hot pressed paper too. So for the sake of people who don't know the difference, just as I myself didn't know the difference initially, cold pressed is paper that has a slight grain to it, a tooth, let's call it. Hot pressed is paper that one could imagine has been ironed flat. It has very little to no tooth. It's basically smooth. Cold pressed is sometimes called knot, N-O-T. Then there's rough paper, but I personally never use that paper, and I think it's more suitable for landscapes. So let's go back to what I was telling you about feeling really drawn to hot press paper, probably due to the fact that I grew up drawing on smooth cartridge or copy paper, and I liked the clean lines you could achieve on that kind of paper as opposed to the bumpy ones you get on rough paper. So I bought a block of Arches hot pressed, and the same magic, that music, just wasn't there. I tried a couple of other brands of hot pressed, and I felt a hint of understanding of what it was meant to be like, but the spark wasn't there. Now there's an artist on Instagram whose work I really admire, Agnes Cecile. If you love watercolour portraits, you probably know who she is. And I asked her what kind of paper she used, because there was something in the quality of her work that told me she was using a specific kind of paper I hadn't yet come across. So yes, you will have guessed, she told me she uses Winsor and Newton hot pressed. As much as I love Archie's cold pressed, painting on Archie's hot press paper to me feels like painting on a hard, unforgiving board. Please remember that this is just my opinion, and I am sure there are lots of artists out there who love it. So this is just my own personal experience with that paper. I don't like the way it absorbs the paint. I don't like the way the paint moves on it. Winsor and Newton's hot pressed, which, let me add, is also cheaper than Arches, at least here in Europe, gave me that moment, the music, the spark. That's something I had been looking for since summer 2019. The paint glides over it and the colour flows into one another evenly and beautifully. I think the effects water and paint create on this paper have both the quality of something organic while offering the smoothness I was after. I could almost say it's the kind of paper that makes me dare more. Whereas with other brands, I felt hesitant and uncertain, like a skater on thin ice, to use a metaphor. So saying that this paper makes me dare more, to me is saying a lot. Because I've said this before, to me, watercolour and art in general are all about daring. I think over the centuries in history, it's mostly been all about that. So that's it. I don't think I need to say any more, add any more about this watercolour paper. So let me tell you a little about the QOR paints now. These paints are extremely high quality. You can tell that immediately, and they are indeed artist grade paints, professional paints. I think this is a lovely palette to have for a beginner, someone who's just starting out in watercolour, because it offers a lot. You do get a lot. I already said how much I appreciate the box it comes in, which, let me repeat it, has a total of 12 mixing wells in a palette you can hold in one hand. I think that just adds extra points to this set. The paints are highly pigmented. I think the most pigmented paints I have probably ever come across. I kind of struggled a little because the colours I reach for most often when painting a portrait are Madder Lake light, yellow ochre and indigo, at least as a base tone, let's say, or to use as a wash over an underpainting. And this palette doesn't carry those colours, and I had a hard time getting the colour mixtures I was looking for. So, side note, if my knowledge of colour theory were better than what it is, and so were my mixing skills, I probably would not have found this as difficult. I compared the ultramarine blue with the White Knight's ultramarine blue, and then with the Schminke ultramarine blue, as you can see on the top row of the photo. And I then compared burnt umber with White Knight's burnt umber and Winsor and Newton burnt umber on the bottom row. So you can tell for yourself, in fact, you can see for yourself what I'm talking about. It's a kind of vibrancy one usually sees in acrylics almost, but with the consistency of watercolour. Now, I might be talking complete nonsense. I won't say this is a fact, but it just looked like that to me. Of course, bright colours can be toned down or muted by adding in a touch of their complementary colour. So I think I'll just have to work with these more. For someone like me, who likes more transparent, muted tones most of the time, not always, but most of the time, these were a bit of a challenge. I would really like to hear from you if you have been using these paints longer than me, if you feel the same way about them, if you also find they are much more pigmented than other artist grade brands like Winsor and Newton and Schminke. However, I still give this set of paints top marks because the quality is top notch. So this is all from me for today. Please don't forget to like this video if you liked it, as that helps my channel to get seen, and to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to find out when I'm about to upload my next video, or when my next video has actually already been uploaded. Don't forget to check out my Art and Crime series, which is all about true crimes that took place in Italy, and with a portrait of usually the victim. If that is something you like, you'll find it on this channel. Also, if you want to see all of my art in one place, my Instagram handle is Drawings in a Drawer, all in one word. I hope to see you very soon.